throat is so tight and closed that it's hard for me to speak. And my mind feels fuzzy and I feel so scattered and all of these feelings. This is what I physically experience as stage fright. So for me, it's so hard to imagine that all of these physical feelings that seem to be overtaking my body are caused by only my mind. That something mental can feel so physical and so controlling of my whole being. And this is my mind that's telling me that you'll fail and you'll mess up, and what if they think you're stupid, or what if they think you're annoying? And it's my mind that keeps telling me these things, and which causes my body to have such a strong reaction. And my mind is constantly reeling with what ifs and failures and what might happen. And it causes a very strange reaction, something that probably all of us have experienced before, and I kind of wanted to go into depth of what this is. And so these feelings used to be something that was debilitating to me. I wouldn't be able to perform, and they would completely stop me from being able to get up here and do something and do what I wanted to do, because my body and my mind were inhibiting what I really wanted to do. And so through my project, I want to explore stage fright and what it really is, and why do we have stage fright? Is it that we're just afraid of being judged? That we're afraid of what other people will think? Or is it something more and something deeper? Is it something about having to live up to our own standards? Is it about how we want to be enough for ourselves? Or is it more about how we want to be viewed by other people? And so these are questions I wanted to explore and ask myself throughout my project. And also, is it that we're just afraid of failure? Why do we have this fear? And so the first step for me for understanding this was really learning about the physicalities and technicalities of what stage fright is. And so I did some research and I looked up why this happens. And so our mind is put in this state of panic, and we get up on stage or we're thinking about it and we get this panic and our mind kind of freaks out. And so it triggers something in our body. It triggers an evolutionary defense mechanism known as fight or flight. And so this has been with us since the beginning of time. And it's that thing that when a hungry tiger is running after you, you need to get up and you need to be ready to run away as fast as you can, or you need to be the strongest and be able to fight it. And so when we're on stage, our body's ready to do this, yet that's the last thing we want to do. The last thing we want to do is run away from the audience or fight them. And so we have to control this in our body, and we may not be aware of it, but we can see it by how our legs shake and our heart pounds and our throat closes, and they all have these reasons. And we get butterflies because our digestive system shuts off in order to create energy quickly for food and to try to conserve it as fast as we can. And so there are these little things that we learn about that actually have a purpose, but not for being on stage. So another thing that helped me and kind of comforted me was to see how common stage fright is. And so 90% of people have experienced or do experience stage fright or performance anxiety. It is the most common fear, topping flying, financial ruin, getting in a car crash, or even death, or even whales. So, how many people here think they have stage fright or performance anxiety, or would be afraid to speak or perform in front of an audience? Okay, so that is definitely most of us, if not all. And it's not relieving to see other people have a struggle, but it's comforting to know that you're not the only one dealing with this. And I especially see this comforting in the fact that successful performers struggle with this as well. People like Barbra Streisand and Elvis and Cher and Beyonce even. And so it's interesting to see people who we kind of idolize as such powerful, successful performers that they deep down, they're not perfect and they struggle with the same things that we do. So I am, of course, one of these people who struggle with performance anxiety. And I not only experience it when I'm on stage, but also in my everyday life. From a young age, I was afraid to speak in front of a class and to raise my hand and to read out loud. And I hated the center of attention being on me. And when it was, I would get flushed and my heart would pound and I couldn't stand being exposed like that. And so this is something that I still feel to this day. And my class knows that sometimes when I raise my hand and talk, I get all flushed and red and I can't speak. And it's just something that has always happened. And so the first time I actually went on stage and performed was in 5th grade, and I got a part in this play. And so this was a big experience for me because I'd never been on stage. And I remember it specifically because I remember I was so nervous beforehand, and I was so afraid. But then once I got out there, I really came to love it. And so not only did I have this fear and anxiety around it, I also found a deep love for it. And so I heard this Bob Dylan song called Stage Fright that kind of exemplifies this. And so I'm going to read some lyrics. See the man with the stage fright, just standing up there to give it all, his might. He got caught in the spotlight, but when we get to the end, he wants to start all over again. And so it kind of reminds me of my own process in that way. And so through this, though, I got so uncomfortable with it before feeling that I didn't want to push myself to do it again. And so I kind of shied away from it, and I kind of built up this wall around myself and kind of hid behind it. But then in 11th grade, I auditioned for the musical, and Kevin Simmons, the musical director, pushed me, and he saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself. And so this really helped me open up and see that I could be ready to perform and I could be ready to face my fears. And so this gave me an opportunity, and I learned an extreme amount from this, more than I could have ever imagined going into something like that. When I look back on it now, I can see 3 main things that I learned that really have been a big part of my project. The first thing was how much I really love to sing, which I had never sang before last year. I didn't even know that. I'd never tried singing. I didn't know it was something I would love. And so I really found this passion for it and this drive that I wanted to keep continuing with it. The second thing was that I realized how much I really didn't know anything about music. I had no idea what the little squiggly lines meant, or the confusing words above the music notes, or timing, or anything. I had no idea. And so it was a big experience because I had to learn all of that, also while facing my fears. And the last thing that I learned was how much my stage fright really affects me. I saw how debilitating it could be, and how afraid I was of performing and of singing and of exposing myself. But it was also a helpful experience because I was forced to push past that part of myself and to really move through, because I wanted to perform and I wanted to be successful. So from these parts of the musical, I knew that I wanted to do my project on something with singing. I played with the idea of doing something with lemurs, because I really love lemurs. But I don't think that was really a possibility. So I went ahead with singing. And so there are 2 aspects of my project, the physical and the mental aspect. The physical project was taking voice lessons with my mentor and voice teacher and accomplished, talented singer herself, Bonnie Brooks. And she really showed me everything there was to know about music, about breath control, about timing, about pitch, about notes, about everything. And she really opened up a whole world for me because I didn't know I could hit certain notes, and I didn't know I had this ability and strength in my voice because I'd never really known how to use it. And so she gave me a really good base for this, and something that I've been building off of since I began taking lessons with her about 5 months ago. And so this was it was a very important part of my project because it was all of this singing, and this gave me this confidence in my voice, which helped me with the second part, which is the mental part. And that's the part where I faced my fear. And like I said with Bonnie, she helped me, and once I have this confidence in my voice and knowing what it can and can't do, where I can push it, where I can't, my strengths and my weaknesses, it gives me the ability to actually push myself and to open up to this world, having confidence in myself and knowing what I have and what I can do. And so this was a very important part, and so through this, I did research on kind of overcoming stage fright, which is not, I don't think, is a possibility. You can't just overcome it. It will always be there. You just have to change it. You have to switch your mindset and change everything. And Bonnie always stresses how important it is to have positive affirmations before your performance. And you have to think positive, and you can't think what if, and what if this happens. You have to be positive about it. And something that I visualize is a seed. And so this seed is your performance. And if you give it negative thoughts, it's like pouring toxins on the seed. And so this seed won't be able to bloom into a flower as it would if you gave it water and sunshine and positive thoughts. And so it sounds kind of cheesy, but it really helps me kind of imagine, because when a thought comes into my head, I can think like that's poison, and I have to think, just sunshine and happiness, and it actually really helps me with this. And I have to imagine my performance going but the way that I want it, and to be confident in knowing that that will happen. Another big part of this is letting go of perfection, and that what if that doesn't happen? And so I have to look at stage fright as not as something that I have to deal with, but something that I can use as a strength. And so it seems weird to think about, and it was weird for me to think about in the beginning, but you can use the adrenaline that you get from being so afraid, and you can magnify your performance and the positive aspects of it instead of magnifying your anxieties and your fears. And so I just have to switch my mindset and not let it control me, and not let it take over my whole being. Even though it might be physically, I can't let it mentally. And so, like I said, this letting go of perfectionism. I tend to be a perfectionist in schoolwork and with some aspects of my life, and I realize that I can't do that with singing because my performance is not going to be perfect, and I have to accept that. And I have to accept that I'm a human and I will make mistakes, but I can do the best that I can. And even if I don't, I can accept it and I can say, okay, I messed up. What can I do next time? Or it's over, and to not dwell on the things I did wrong. And so I have to be confident in what I did positively and not even think about what happened before. And so it's this viewpoint that has really changed my whole view on singing and speaking and performing, and the whole idea of getting up here and being vulnerable and exposed. And it's really about your mental part, because of course you have to be physically prepared with what you're saying, what you're doing, everything, but it's the mental preparation that matters just as much, because if you don't have that, you're not going to be able to show what you have known, what you know physically. And so, looking back only a year, I'm able to see how far I've come, not only in the physical development of my voice and really learning so much about music and how to use my voice and what I can do, and just a really in-depth study of that. But I've also come to learn how I can control myself, control my performance anxieties mentally, and how I can use that to strengthen my performance. And so I've taken a small step overall, but I have taken a big step in the right direction. Okay, so the first song I sang was a French which is a form of early rustic French songs, and so it's from the 18th century, and it's a really light song, and it's kind of saying, it's telling young girls that they'll pick flowers, but they'll die, just like their infatuations and crushes will pass as well. And that if, when you're older, you find a person you love, if they're unfaithful, let them go. So, yeah. Okay, so the song I'll be singing now is called Nina, and it's from an opera from 1749 that's called Three Silly Suitors, and the composer is unknown. Yeah, and so it's a song about a girl, Nina, who is lovesick, and she's dying, and she can't get out of bed because she's so in love. And so that is what I will be singing now. And my parents for tolerating me and supporting me. And thank you to all my teachers who have helped me through this process. Thank you. Are there any questions? Who is your... Oh, I'm so sorry. And thank you so much to Richard. everybody. Okay, are there any questions?
How do you feel?
I'm a little bit shaky, but I feel good. Yes?
Hayley, you have a beautiful voice. Do you find it's easier to overcome stage fright with singing or with speaking?
Yeah, that's actually something I experienced when we did our speech rehearsal. I thought that singing would be the hardest for me, but when I got up there to do my speech rehearsal, I felt I just completely blanked out. And for me, speaking is harder because you're yourself. And with singing, you can kind of put out a personality or someone else that's not you, and with acting as well. But with speaking, you have to speak from your heart and truly who you are. And so I couldn't put up different emotions and kind of act through it. So speaking is definitely harder for me.
Which song was harder for you to learn?
Probably the French one because it's quicker and I'm used to like slower songs, so I like to drag out the notes, but it was quicker and more fast-paced.
Any other questions yet?
What are you looking at when you say it?
I was looking at that exit sign. Yes, Chloe.
Are you going to keep taking voice lessons?
Yeah, I'll definitely continue with voice lessons with Bonnie. Yeah. Rachel?
Do you have a favorite song that you just sing around the house, like for practice or for warm-up? I sang it when I was little. I love the song "Somewhere Over the Rainbow." I love singing that song.
Encore.
Any other questions? Okay, then I would like to welcome you guys to a 10-minute intermission.